Welcome to the Discover Montcalm podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Weed.
Hello, and welcome to episode 61 of the Discover Montcalm podcast. My name's Dwayne. I'm your host and producer, and we're going to check out a hidden gem in Coral, Michigan called the Pioneer Village. Now, we're going to talk to Bert. He's the gentleman that put this village together. But I will say, you want to go to YouTube and check out the YouTube video. Discover Montcalm Podcast on YouTube, because we'll do a walking tour of the place and you can kind of see it firsthand as he goes through and kind of narrates what's in each of the buildings. You can catch up with Bert on Facebook at Egbert Bowes Bert, which is EGBERTBOESBERT. Egbert Bowes Bert on Facebook is how you can catch up with him if your group or organization would like to come in and look at the village, or if you're a family that want to check it out, he'll open it up. He does have a festival once or twice a year where he opens it up to the general public, but it's not always open, but you're free to walk the grounds, look in the windows, check out what he has. Let's catch up with Bert in Coral as he talks to me about a little of his history, where he came from, and then he takes us on a walking tour of the village. And Bert, kind of tell me, what inspired you to start doing this?
Well, some years ago, maybe 25 years ago, I took my grandson on a motorcycle and we did Route 66 to California and then up to Oregon. And I was impressed with the buildings, the old vehicles, just the stuff sitting around. And so I came home and decided to build some old buildings. And I started with a general store.
Okay.
And with what lumber I had. And I built that, and I run out of lumber, and then I bought some lumber, and I had some left over, and so I went to the next one. And so that's the way it progressed, just through the village. So I've been working on it for about 25 years.
And what started off as one building now has multiple buildings. And, you know, it's always nice to start with the general store, because I think when you have a community, you got to have a place where you can get your supplies. Right. So for you, I can kind of see where you kind of built it from there. What was your second building?
Facsimile of the old Coral Depot.
So the depot was your second building, but let's go back a little bit of history. You did not grow up here in the county. You came in from where? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Byron Center.
Okay.
And Lowell. I graduated from Lowell High School. And then we moved to Dutton, south of Grand Rapids. And then from there, I worked at Radio Bible class and got some printing training. And from there, we accepted a missionary call to Escanaba. And we moved to Escanaba, and I was a missionary printer for Continental Baptist Missions. They moved down in 77, or 97, or 87, excuse me. And so we moved to Rockford, and from there I had a nephew and a niece that lived in Coral, and they were going to the church in Coral, and asked me to come and preach for them, and so I did. And so anyway, they extended a call to me, and so in time I left the printing ministry and took up the full-time pastorate as a missionary pastor. We started with 11 people, and brought the church to self-supporting in '97. And then graduated, and I stayed with the church and retired 10 years ago.
We're going to take a quick pause right now, and we're going to highlight our sponsors, and we'll be back after this, and we're going to take a little tour of the Pioneer Village here in Coral, Michigan. We'll be right back. We'd like to thank our sponsors. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is your perfect choice for managed IT, website design, website hosting, and consulting services. WMTDS.com, 616-485-7600. Custom Vinyl Signs and Busy Bee Embroidery and Gifts is your one-stop shop for embroidery, vinyl, screen printing, and engraving needs. Go to cvsdbusybees.com or call 989-261-7446. And DW Video, your film and videotape specialist. They design websites and business videos that tell and share your story. dwvideo.com, 231-250-9624. Now, back to our podcast. Well, welcome back to the Discover Montcalm podcast. We're at the Pioneer Village here in Coral, and we're here with Bert. He's the one that has done all of this. Bert, can you kind of give us a little walking tour of what we see when we enter the village?
Sure.
And just kind of walk us through, and then I'll just kind of follow you.
Sure. I enjoy old engines, and I have collected some of them. And so I have 2 sheds with engines in, and this is one with mostly Wisconsin's and some of the other ones too. Some Maytags in there, and little Jumbos and Cushmans and so on. And the village is always here. Anybody's welcome to walk through it. And if you let me know if a car club or something wants to go through it, I open it up for them, or family too, for that matter.
Sure. Okay. So as we're here, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is a church I built, and we don't use it as a church per se, it's just part of the village, you know. And next to it is a cemetery, the churchyard, and I had some markers in there, but they've kind of gone by the way.
All right.
And this one over here is my arms building, and some years ago I got into making cannons, and so I have, I don't know, 4 or 5 cannons in there.
Well, you know, I'm really intrigued, so let's go and look.
Okay.
Well, because I'm so much into, I think cannons are neat. My wife won't let me have one, but you know, Bert's going to bring me in here. Now I'm going to have to say, oh. But anyways, you know, how did you get into doing the cannons?
I don't know. I just, something I saw, and once I see it and get a liking for it, I try to build it.
And one way that a person can come out and actually see these is to get in touch with Bert or come out to a couple of his, you know, festivals that they open it up during the year and let you walk through the buildings. So we've got a nice little selections of cannons here. And I think at this point we'll go back out and we'll continue our tour of the Pioneer Village. And not too far from the Arms building and right next to the church we have the Prairie House. So tell us about this one.
Well, just like every village needs a house. And so I built a Prairie House. My granddaughter slept in there a couple times. I have a loft in there for a bed, and just different memorabilia that fits into a Prairie House.
Okay. All right. Looks like you've got a clock in the center of town.
Yep.
And a cider mill. So, oh, and then we have the smokehouse right next door.
Yep.
Okay. Why don't you continue the tour? And those that are listening to us on the podcast, you can go to our Discover Montcalm podcast YouTube channel, and you can actually see what's going on here.
This is a cider mill, and some years ago I just wanted to get a cider press and build a cider mill, make cider. And so I did that. I found a press, and I have an old engine that I used for the shredder for the apples, and then we press the cider. We do this once a year, or maybe a couple times, but always in the fall when the apples are ripe. And I invite people in, and we give away cider. And my daughters make elephant ears, and it's just a good time of fellowship together. This is the shredder. It's an old Cushman engine, dates back in the 20s, I believe. And then I built a shredder that shreds the apples. So then it goes from the shredder over to the cider press, and that's where we press the apples and make the cider.
And about how many apples does it take, or how many bushels of apples does it take to maybe make a gallon of cider?
Well, I don't know exactly what it amounts to, but we use 2 or 3 bushels of apples and a lot of cider, probably 6 or 8 gallons of cider.
Okay.
This is the #1 engine shed, and the first engine I bought was the one in the middle. That's a 1924 Novo, made in Lansing, came out of a factory there. And then I just accumulated them, and I put larger engines in this building. And once in a while I run a couple of them, you know.
Well, it's really nice that you open up your village here to share these with people. I think that's really cool. And for those of you listening, again, go to our Discover Montcalm podcast YouTube channel, and you can kind of see the visuals of all of what we got here. And right next to the engine is we have the Blacksmith Shop. So, Bert, can you tell us what's in here?
Sure. I enjoy blacksmithing, though I've never done a lot of it or any of it really. And a few years ago, I just thought I'd build a blacksmith shop and try it. So I built some knives and do a little bit of blacksmithing. And this is a functional shop. I have a couple of forges and a power hammer and a propane forge as well. And so this is where the work is done.
This is where you can kind of get dirty.
Yeah.
And create.
Yep.
We're here at the Pioneer Village, and this is the very first building that Bert put together. So, Bert?
This is my first building, a general store, and I enjoy collecting. And these buildings give me an opportunity to share my collection with other people rather than just put it in a pole building or looking at it myself. And so that's why we invite people in. So I have a number of different collectible things in here. Nothing rare probably, but just things that spark the memory of people when they come and see it.
The old rotary phones, for one.
Yep.
I remember my grandparents having a party line and having to share the phone.
Yeah. I'm not a bottle collector, but there was an outhouse here when we moved here. It was still there. And so we restored it a couple of years ago, and most of these bottles I found in the pit of the outhouse.
Oh, really?
So that was kind of interesting.
Old cash registers, and just again, once or twice a year he opens this up, or he does open it up. If you get a hold of him, if you've got a club or an organization that wants to come in and tour it, again, opening it up to share with people what he has here and not hiding things. In this room, is there like one thing or a couple things that mean more to you than some of the other stuff?
Well, not necessarily. Most of the stuff was given to me. A cash register was given to me by a friend. Those kind of things are special. This is my depot. It's kind of a facsimile of the old coral depot. I have a picture of that in here. And it's just a place to put things.
Okay.
I have a collection of old gasoline torches and a steam engine with a boiler, and I built the boiler, and I have a carousel, a 40-inch carousel that I turn with that engine. It makes for an interesting piece. And because I was a pressman, a printer, I have an old letterpress up there.
Yeah, you have to check out the YouTube channel and then make a trip over here. This will be a great place for families to kind of walk around, but you need to get with Bert ahead of time so he can open it up. But just a lot of interesting collections that he's opening up to share with everybody. You definitely have some collections here, so tell us a little bit about this and a little bit about your filling station.
Well, some years ago when I was pastoring, then I had a Wednesday night boys club in my garage, and we'd have anywhere from 10, sometimes 15 boys in there. And this is one of the projects we put together. We needed a project, and so we built a replica of an '03 Oldsmobile. And the boys never did it. It's kind of tedious to drive. They never did anything with it, but we still keep it around, and it still runs.
So it is functional. It's still very functional.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's still cool. Got flat tires right now, but.
Well, we're at the filling station, so.
Yep, we had to have gas pumps, and one of the farmers in the area gave me two of them, and then one I bought from a fella.
And for those that are younger, yes, it used to be 49 cents a gallon. You could put a lot in, but the interesting part about that is 49 cents a gallon was still, at that time with the economy and what the wage was for people working, that was still, I mean, it sounds great now, but it put it in perspective, and here we've got 25 cents a gallon. If only we could go back to those days, but at $9, $10, you can get a lot of gallons. And over here, we're looking here at 35 cents a gallon. I remember when I was growing up, the 35 to 50 cents a gallon.
Yeah,
That's what I remember my dad, filling up for.
In 1962, I graduated from Lowell High School, and I took a motorcycle trip to Seattle, Washington. My brother was out there at that time. And when I came back, I was getting low on money, and I lost my credit card. And so when I came back, I borrowed, I think, $10 from him, and I had a few bucks, but I made it all the way home on that, and 25 cents a gallon on a motorcycle.
Grabbed a little something to eat along the way.
Yeah.
So we've got the filling station here. And these old collectible signs too. A lot of people, collect these, and Texaco and Pennzoil and Dad's Garage. That's kind of a cute little thing. The motor oil from Sinclair, and then as we come into the filling station, tell us about these collectibles.
Well, we collected some anything that's an engine I'm interested in, and so boat motors just come under that heading. And so I've, over the years, have collected a few boat motors. And this one up here dates back in before the 20s, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Old gas cans.
Yep.
Got a collection of spark plugs. Is there any closing thoughts about this village or the things that we've been going through that you would like to share with my audience?
Well, I just want to invite people to come and enjoy it. That's what it's for. To have something doesn't mean much to me unless I can share it. And so people have enjoyed it. It kind of steps back. It's in time a little bit, and it makes for a good photo shoot sometimes, and just an enjoyable time.
Bert, I want to thank you for taking the opportunity to show me around the Pioneer Village in Coral. For those of you that would like to check it out and maybe tour it yourself, reach out to Bert on Facebook at Egbert Bowes, Bert, EGBERT BOESBERT. Look him up on Facebook. He'll open it up if he's available to kind of let you see what he's got going there. It's a great place to go do a photo shoot or just take the family and walk through and peek through the windows. Thank you for watching the Discover Montcalm podcast. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. You can also go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com and check out all the episodes. You can also hook up with our RSS feed there and put it in your favorite podcast app and follow all of our episodes. So thank you for tuning in to episode 61 of the Discover Montcalm Podcast. My name's Dwayne. If you have an idea, if you have a person of interest, or you run a business, I would love to tell your story. Reach out to me at 231-250-9624, 231-250-9624. I'd love to tell your local Montcalm County story. Remember to buy and shop locally. Thank you.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Dwayne at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.